Share with you today some of the special authorities. Congress has given the department many authorities to actually move with greater speed and agility. There are, however, saboteurs in the mix across the Pentagon and Congress that are that are impeding some of the efforts. My personal mantra is, to help DoD deliver better capabilities faster. So how do we get those solutions in the hands of the warfighter? Because we still cannot lose track of, China is the pacing threat, and we are far behind. So I want to give you a quick rundown, just lay out the strategic environment and hit three main areas. Middle tier of acquisition, rapid prototyping, rapid fielding, software acquisition pathway, which I think most of the audience would be interested in, and then commercial acquisition. So I'm part of the Atlantic Council Commission on Defense Innovation Adoption. We had a big report earlier this year, and it's starting to have some ripple effects in the NDA and within the building. And laid out, some of the big challenges that DoD acquisition is facing. So we're all familiar with the long timelines to deliver capabilities. When it takes 10 to 15 years to go from idea to IOC, that's a problem. The shrinking industrial base. In the last decade, DoD has lost 40% of its small businesses. NDIA talks about 5% decline each year the last 5 years. We absolutely have to rebuild the industrial base. We need all the leading defense tech companies to get in the mix and make it easier to do business with DoD. Valley of Death has been talked about at length. We spend billions of dollars on really cool tech, really cool prototypes. They never make their way into acquisition programs and ultimately fielded to the operators. Hamstrung workforce, been there for 26 years, know the absolute pain. It's more and more compliance, more oversight, more certifications, and more constraint. So that's where many people are leaving just because they're frustrated with the bureaucratic culture. So we'll get to it. The biggest thing is understanding the threat window and the speed of delivery. Admiral Davidson talked about, the Davidson window of 24 to 27 is the prime threat window of when China is going to act on Taiwan. That opens in 2 months from now. That was always years ahead. Now it's 2 months away. All of the major systems that DoD is developing to deter China aren't going to be delivered until the 2030s. So we need to think, what capabilities can we deliver in the next 2 to 4 years with the bias towards closer to now that are actually going to have some effect to deter China? Because they're still operating with 30-year-old legacy systems for our forces, whereas China's building an entire navy in the last 20 years. Even the current NDS talks about our system is too slow. Little incentive to design open systems and incorporate cutting-edge technology. So even the NDS says it, but it's still the bureaucracy impedes progress. And a key slide I always like to highlight is, an acquisition executive years ago at a conference said, hey, if you want things done right, you got to take your time and do it right. We always talk about burning down acquisition risk. Oh, let's do some more analysis, more paperwork, more reviews, more oversight. We're going to have more people certify to make sure you didn't screw up like the last team. So we'll spend more time, burn down that risk, get a better understanding. We're going to test the heck out of it, and we're going to certify with all these reviews. Every month you do to delay that acquisition program just transfers the risk to the operational command. They're working with 30-year-old legacy systems that are falling apart, increasing cost, lower reliability. There's only so much duct tape to go around. So it's always striking a balance between speed and rigor. You can't say, hey, we got to go fast. I'm just going to skip testing. We'll do that later. No, that doesn't make sense. But looking at what are the pacing elements that you can deliver so that the operators have some meaningful capability in a relevant time frame. So a few years ago, we blew up the entire acquisition policy, the 5000 series, and really did some transformational efforts. And there were 6 key kind of guiding principles in the new 5001 and 02. I want to foot stomp the first 3, empowering program managers, simplifying the policy, and tailoring the approaches. And we explicitly wrote in, program managers will tailor processes, reviews, and documents based on the unique aspects of your program: size, complexity, risk, urgency, and other factors. So have clarity of purpose of what is your program trying to do, tailor the processes and reviews to go address that. This isn't the cookie cutter one size fits all. This isn't the textbook approach that's been going on for 30 years and the ugly DAU wall charts that are 2 posters, 5-point font of all the boxes that you need to navigate. So tailor, tailor, tailor. So we blew up the one textbook model into 6 acquisition pathways. And again, it's choose your own adventure and then tailor within, and you can navigate multiple pathways along the way. So you want urgent capability in 2 years? Great, take the first one. Middle tier, which we'll dive into, rapid prototyping, rapid fielding within 5 years. MCA, the traditional pathway, you can still heavily tailor that to the unique aspects of what you're trying to do. Software pathway, I think I've read somewhere software is uniquely different from hardware, so we actually tailored a process for that. Business systems have been around for a while, 1,700 business systems. Most of them are struggling. Some of them are getting more and more involved with the software pathway. And then acquisition of services is more of a contracting pathway, but there's opportunities to expand that role. So we built it all on a website, integrating policy guidance and other resources. So I want to dive into middle tier of acquisition. In 2016, the late Senator John McCain realized the issue. He saw what China was doing. He saw, U.S. was far behind in delivering capabilities. Put in the NDA, go forth and use middle tier. DoD sat on it for 2 or 3 years, finally started implementing it. So there's 2 elements, rapid prototyping, rapid fielding. For rapid prototyping, it's, hey, there's some emerging tech maybe coming from the commercial world or defense, or there's a clear commercial technology that may have some military applications. Go prototype it, go experiment with it, see if there's a there, and get a capability in the operational environment as quickly as possible. Rapid fielding is, hey, there's something mature, readily available, just turn on the production line and go off and run. Keyword here is always rapid. But then people still go, well, but the standard 30-year life cycle of an acquisition program, we're going to spend 10 to 15 years and use it for 30 to 50 years. It hurts their head when they see these processes. So for middle tier, one of the beauties of it was Congress put in statute, you're exempt from JSIDs. JSIDs is an evil bureaucratic process. It said, get your requirements done in 6 months or less. So what did the services do? They built a mini JSIDs process within their services, where the chief of staff of the services are signing off on the requirements document for rapid prototype. And you're like, you guys are killing me. But at least it's within the services, and there's a 6-month limit. But you can go through and do rapid prototyping. Hey, you could do a few prototypes. Eventually you get a thumbs up and say, hey, this works, this is great, go build me 100 or 1,000 of them. You could pivot over to rapid fielding and turn on the production line and run. Or you can start with, hey, rapid fielding. Maybe there's a 50, 60% solution readily available. Go produce the first batch and rapidly prototype the next iteration. So you could still experiment with it. And again, it's not just the linear process of the traditional acquisition environment, but get it done within 5 years. So DoD IG, this process has only been around for a few years. IG already did an audit on it. When the IG's coming in, they're usually not going to say nice things. IG doesn't say nice things about their own mothers. They actually reported on middle tier and said the middle tier is actually helping the culture with greater speed and agility. Increased efficiencies and effectiveness, we're streamlining the acquisition processes, expediting prototyping and fielding of capabilities. Acquisition executives encourage the use, and the PEOs and program managers are actually using these new authorities.
Are there any use cases that are supporting what the IG is saying that is not classified?
Yes, I'll get to it in 2 slides.
Perfect.
So 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So while DoD is starting to move out, experimenting with new authorities, there are some that go, hey, don't run too far. You may trip your knee, you may fall and skin your knee. So SACD, for the last few years, now these are the appropriators, these are the ones that focus on the budget. They hate this. So they go, hey, for all the rapid prototyping, we want to see your acquisition strategy, your contract strategy. We want to see your cost estimate. We want to see you've certified full funding for the entire program, for the life of the program. We want DOT&E to certify your test strategy for a rapid prototype. And now the new one is USD INS to certify your life cycle threat strategy. Joint staff, who also is MIF that has the exemption from JSIDs, goes, yeah, I know it says that in the law, but we still want to get involved.